Hey y'all, it's your girl Tracy D, and welcome back to Mindset Mondays. Today is December 1st. I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. I hope you all had an opportunity to be with your loved ones, eat a lot, spend a little money on Black Friday. Not, I hope not. But anyway, welcome back to Mindset Mondays with your girl Tracy D. Today is week 4, episode 4, and today we are talking about activation from intention to execution. You heard me? I said from intention to execution. So, what is activation really all about? Activation takes place where broken mindsets get rebuilt and purpose gets activated. So, tonight, y'all, on week 4, we gonna get into activation. It's not motivation, it's not hype, it's not another feel good message. Activation is when what you live. And that begins here tonight on my episode. It's when excuses expire. It's when the delay loses its power. It's when faith gets legs and starts walking. Hello, you hear me? I said when faith gets legs and start walking. Because see, we all talk about stepping out on faith. And sometimes that's all we doing is stepping out, but we're not walking. So tonight, y'all, we are going to get to walking. Everything you've healed in weeks 1 through 3, tonight we're going to put it into motion. We're going to kick this off with our scripture. Of course, you know we got to have it. James chapter 1, verses 22. Do not merely listen to the word. Do what it says. Hello, that's called obedience, just in case you don't know. Sorry about that. You know, some of us want to tell our kids to be obedient, but yet we still haven't been obedient. And our affirmation tonight is I am activated, I move with intention, and I said I execute in confidence. So let's get it a little deep into this. Why most people never activate. Y'all, to be honest and to tell the truth, and I'm not trying to offend nobody or hurt anybody's feelings, but I've been in this same situation so I can speak on it. Most people don't fail because they lack dreams. Y'all, we fail because we lack activation. You know, we talk about motivation and how we get all hyped to do something, but we never continue or we never finish. We always stay in the planning mode, the waiting mode, or waiting for that perfect time, y'all. There is no perfect time. If God has given you a gift or a vision, you can't have that one day mode and when I'm ready mode. But I can tell you something. Delayed obedience is still disobedience. Some of us has been sitting on business ideas, ministry assignments, education goals, healing journeys, financial breakthroughs, weight loss goals. You know, people are struggling with mental health and weight loss and, you know, afraid to just get out there and step out and make those move. And you're calling in your purpose. And y'all, fear comes to us dressed up like it's wisdom. Fear comes to us like we the sharpest thing since sliced bread. But what fear always tells is, wait, Tracy, Tracy D, you're not ready. Tracy D, what if it doesn't work? You might fail. And if you fail, then everybody gonna be looking at you like told you so. But purpose, y'all, what I do know is purpose doesn't respond to fear. Purpose responds to movement. And our scripture says, whoever watches the wind will not plant. Do you understand that? Do you know how important that is? And the reason why that is important is because if you watching which way the wind blows and you're not watering your plant and your seed, it won't go nowhere. It's just gonna sit there. Let's be real about it. Our affirmation for today is I release delay, I step into movement, and I am no longer stalled. Y'all, we can't keep stalling out. As you know, they say it's coming close to the end of times, y'all. So we got to make sure whatever God has given us, let's not sleep on that. Let's not move on that. But one thing I want to let you know is activation requires a decision. And it just can't be any decision. This has to be a thought through, a planned decision. Activation always starts with a decision. It's not a feeling. It's not, oh, I got that sign. I got that gut feeling. It's not permission. A decision is when you decide to stop surviving, stop tolerating anything, stop selling for anything, and stop shrinking yourself to fit into other people's world. You know, we've stopped giving ourselves the love that we should give ourselves because we want to make sure we're not seeming like we're being selfish, as they call it. Y'all keep giving yourself love. We have to. And here's the truth: your life will not change until your decisions change. You cannot activate abundance while choosing sacredty thinking. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You cannot activate healing while entertaining toxicity. Y'all, we in some bad relationships and we do it why? Because we're fronting, we're pretending, we're playing. Y'all, we got to be real about this. We cannot do that. You cannot activate growth while choosing comfort. And a lot of us today is in our comfort zone. The decision between the lines is who you were. Let me tell you clearly who you were and who you're becoming. See, right now I'm in that becoming phase, and I love every bit about that becoming phase because the moment, honey, the moment I decided, woo, I decided to choose life so that me and my children may live. And that scripture that I just quoted you comes from Deuteronomy chapter 30, verses 19. Activation is about discipline, not feelings. Let's get real, y'all. Motivation is emotional. It can take us on that roller coaster. We can be high and we can be low. It's just like that cigarette. But on the other hand, discipline is intentional. You will not feel like it. You won't get up early. You won't want to work when you're tired. You don't want to study when you're bored. You don't want to pray when you're discouraged. You know, a lot of us only pray when things are going well. We don't pray when things are just normal, when everything is good. We got to keep praying. We got to keep giving the glory. We can't just stop when life seems to be good. And then realizing that after all we did, nobody's showing up and nobody's clapping. And that's okay. You can clap for yourself. You can put them hands together and you can clap for yourself. Hello, you hear me? But y'all, discipline doesn't wait on feelings. Discipline is the activation switch to your destiny. Let me be clear with you. Discipline is doing it when it's bored, doing it when it's uncomfortable, doing it when it's inconvenient, doing it without an applause, and doing it when nobody's even looking. You know, we talk about integrity, always doing it when nobody's not looking. So what you do in the dark, you most definitely can do in the light. Y'all, people, we don't rise to the level of our goals. We get complacent and we get satisfied about how things are going in our lives. And then we become victims of our own habits. And then once we realize we victims of our own habits, y'all, we want to blame the world for why we haven't got nowhere in life. So we got to be able to step out of that mode, and we got to be able to willing to be accepted and activating and do what is required of activation. And sometimes activations require separation. Activation can cost you access to old versions of yourself, which could be a good thing. I don't know what your old self is like, but for me, that's phenomenal. You can't activate purpose while still staying tied to the same old broken circles, friends, families, foes, however you want to say it. Um, Still entertaining, draining, and conversations that have no meaning, have no positive impact to your life, not going to change how you move tomorrow. It just feels good and comfortable. And that's some of the things we talked about weeks 1 and 3. We get so comfortable, we don't want to give that up because it feels good, even when it's wrong. You know, that's why we find ourselves going back to toxic places a lot and making room for people who don't even respect our growth. You know, it's it's crazy how the world is, but it is what it is. And you have to make the world adapt to you and not adapt to the world. We've been taught that in reverse. We need to change who we are and then make people either accept our change or just don't come around us. And we don't want to be like that, but sometimes that's necessary to continue your positive growth. Elevation always, I mean, always requires separation. Not everybody can go where you're going. You ever hear that line that she was just part or he was part of my story, my journey, my chapter? Well, that's true. Not everybody will understand where you're headed, and not everybody will celebrate when you activate. And that's okay because Purpose is not a group project, it's an individual project. And that means it takes you and the things you need to do to activate yourself, right? And this is where we talk about transformation. Here's your activation blueprint. One, write the vision. Write it down because if you anything like me, you're not going to remember it. You're not going to remember it all. You're going to remember bits and pieces. You got to make sure to create a schedule so you stay on task. And y'all, we got to remove these distractions out of our lives that mean us no good. Hold yourself accountable. Take accountability for slacking and lacking. Yes, I said take accountability for slacking and lacking. Take imperfect action, y'all. Everything don't have to be perfect. People say her podcast ain't perfect. Her podcast is this and her podcast is that. Y'all, it's not about the perfect picture. Because if I had the perfect picture, my podcast probably fake anyway, because there is no perfect picture in life. I want to bring it to y'all raw and uncut. So you never know what part of my house I may give you my podcast from. It might be outside, it may be out at a park, but I'm doing this because it's a message that we need to get across. And it's the message that I want you to hear. So it's not about the beautification of what my background looks like, y'all. It's the beautification of the message that God is allowing me to share with you. And that's what a real podcast is about. So please, please don't get mad at me if my podcast ain't what y'all would consider up to par or if it ain't where y'all think it should be. Stay consistent and trust in God. He will provide the results that nobody else can provide. Because activation, it ain't about speed, y'all. It's about consistency. Small steps daily will outrun big steps once y'all take it. Y'all hear me? When I say that, small steps daily will outrun big steps once you take them. Affirmation, y'all. My vision is clear. My steps are ordered. My progress is intentional. Activating purpose over fear. Fear will always be present when purpose is close. I once heard Steve Harvey say, we always stop when we get right to that point of our breakthrough because of fear. And I'm here today to tell y'all I believe that wholeheartedly. I believe that we are so afraid of fear that when it gets too close to being good, y'all, we stop. Fear gonna always tell us we're not ready. It's too late. We don't have enough. We don't know enough. We might fail. But faith says, move anyway. Activation doesn't eliminate fear, it overrides fear because of obedience. I was talking to my best friend, my ride or die, my sister Shirley, Shirley McClinton, Shirley Tip Tibbler, however you want to say it, my body, my Clyde. But anyway, we were talking about activation and we were talking about encouraging other people. And y'all, that's what it's really about, encouraging other people to move because sometimes people just need a little push. And that's okay. We can most definitely be the pusher. We don't have no problem with that. I hope tonight uh y'all got something from this podcast. It was an activation moment. Tonight wasn't just about a podcast. It was about a line in the sand. From this moment forward, y'all, you are no longer waiting. You are moving, you are building, you are rising, you are activated. You don't need another sign. You don't need no more confirmation. You don't need permission. You only need execution. Your future is waiting on your action. Your children is waiting on your action. Your healing is most definitely waiting on your action. And your purpose is waiting on your action. We are going to end this with scripture, Jeremiah 29, verse 11, I believe. For I know the plans I have for you. And my final affirmation tonight is I am activated. I walk boldly. I move with purpose. I execute with faith. Week 5, closing week 5. We are going to be diving into next week, y'all, closing the year out with your finances in order. So if you ain't got your finances in order, it ain't too late. We going to jumpstart 2026 next week, and we going to start preparing to prepare. So we in activation mode. Y'all get ready. It's been Mindset Mondays. Please join your girl every Monday night, 7:30 p.m., pre-recorded. Join me on my YouTube channel at Tracy DMYB. Thank you all for joining in. Peace and blessings.